Good morning. Welcome to this hour of worship at Unity Church-Unitarian. I'm Reverend Lara Cowtan. I use the pronouns she and her, and joining me to create this worship with you this morning is Worship Associate Lorelee Wederstrom. And thank you very much for getting up. It is good. It is good to be here together, to be part of this open and nurturing and caring community. Today, either here in the sanctuary or for those of you who decided to stay home in your pajamas, online, welcome. We're so glad you're here with us today. Whatever you bring, whatever brought you here, whatever gifts or burdens you're carrying, whoever and however you choose to love in this world, you are welcome here at Unity. We are enriched by the presence of each and every one of you. Whether you are seeking comfort, challenge, inspiration, balance, or community, may you find here what will nourish you in creating a life of integrity, service, and joy. If you're new, please fill out one of the cards in the back of the pew. Let us know who you are and how we can connect with you, what you're looking for. And if you're online, then you can send an email to Philippa Anastas. And please join us after the service for coffee hour and to greet Lorelee and myself in the foyer. And there is a Zoom coffee hour for people online as well. This is a vibrant church, and there are many ways to engage. I direct your attention to the insert in your order of service, looking for ways to engage and things to do things this week and in the coming weeks. But I'd like to draw your attention specifically to an opportunity for today, for those of you on a path to membership or finding out more about Unity. The Finding Yourself at Unity topic today is religious education for children, youth, and adults. It'll be held upstairs in the Gannett room at 10:15. And this week also, we are excited to welcome highly acclaimed choral conductor and scholar, Dr. Anthony Trosick King, to Unity Church. At Wellspring Wednesday this coming week, Dr. Trosick King, together with our Ahmed Anzaldúa, will lead attendees in a communal singing experience. I can't wait. And then on Saturday, this coming Saturday, March 16th, we hope that you'll join in a concert called In This Land with Border Crossing and the Minnesota Choral and Dr. Trosick King, And there are details in your order of service and links online to get tickets. And with that, I have some exciting announcement for you. Well, at least an invitation for more news from Angela Wilcox from your ministerial search team.
You're going to have to wait for the exciting news, but I am here to give you an update. Hello, good morning. It did feel early this morning, didn't it? I just wanted to come before you again today to reassure you we are here. We are holding our work in intention and deep love for this congregation, for this church. And I wanted to give you a brief overview of the timeline ahead. So we are deeply engaged in our work of discernment as a team. We're talking with and working with the ET and the board. And on March 25th, we can send off our wish list to the UUA and say, here are the ministers we can imagine and dream with for our future at Unity Church. Ministers are doing the same work. They're in deep discernment. They're going to send their list off to the UUA, and then the UUA plays matchmaker, and that might take a little time. So about 60% of the time, a church and a minister choose each other first choice. Then that's fairly easy. About 40% of the time, there's a little bit of matchmaking that has to happen, and they may come back to us and say, well, your first choice actually got selected by someone else, and would you be okay with this person? And then we start those conversations. So the short answer is we won't know yet for a little while. We will, by early April, hopefully have a name of a candidate to bring forward to you, and that begins the next process. We will have a couple of weeks of asking questions and learning and practicing telling our stories, so that on April 14th, when our candidate is here in the sanctuary with us, we begin a week of speaking with each other, talking, listening, asking questions, wondering with each other whether our future and this minister match. So here's an invitation. We will be tabling in the parish hall starting this Sunday through past the end of candidating week. If you begin, I invite you to begin in wonder. If you begin to worry, because many of us have been through this before, and you might have some worries, I invite you to figure out, what's the question I need to ask? Who could I talk with? Who could I ask to tell me a story? Who do I need to tell a story to? Let us imagine what it would take for us to draw the circle wide enough to welcome a new minister, and what that will take from us. So come talk to us at the table in the parish hall this week and every week, and we look forward to more conversations with you.
Thank you, Angela. And there will be Wellspring Wednesdays with the ministerial search team coming up to explore this more with more depth. And with that, I invite you all just to take a deep breath, settle yourselves in, leave whatever needs to be left outside these doors out there as we begin our worship with the pealing of our bell.
Welcome to this space, this sanctuary of peace where we come to not only create our best selves, but to also do the work of creating a beloved community. We come together today as individuals, much like individual pieces of glass or pottery that are different shapes, sizes, and colors, all of which are broken with imperfect, jagged edges, yet still beautiful. While our pieces may not always fit together neatly, it is within this sanctuary, guided by our principles, that we gather together to create a beautiful mosaic. May the brokenness and beauty we find in one another create peace in this space and fill our hearts with love as we create worship together. As we light this chalice, please join in the unison words. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith, the light of truth, and the warmth of love. Please remain standing and join with me in the responsive reading printed in your order of worship. Committed to respond to the call of a wounded world, we join together this day with loving hearts, hands, and minds. Embracing the interconnected web of water, air, and earth, we light a fire of sustaining hope, ever bright with love and justice. May we bring forth this day new wisdom, strength, and courage to create a new world, not of wealth, but of well-being. A world of new peace and abundance for all. As we give thanks for this earth, our shared and singular home, may we dedicate ourselves to its ongoing care. rising to the calls deep within us and all around us. May we respond today and always with courage and with love.
Each time we gather for worship, we set aside a moment to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. We take a moment to settle ourselves, to pause, to reach into our hearts. Let's take a deep breath together. Let us enter our time of meditation, reflection, and prayer. As we share with one another the milestones of joys and sorrows, celebrations and concerns that mark our lives from their beginnings to their ends, we weave together a beautiful tapestry of community, greater than any one of our single threads. We hold and are held by each other. Today, we celebrate with Dawn and Meg Arnosti, who are delighted to welcome grandson Fritz Anton Homstad, born to daughter Libby and son-in-law Eric. He was a hefty 10-pounder. And all are doing well. We heartily welcome this new Redeemer into our world. And we hold in our tender and healing embrace Elaine Kienitz, who is recovering in the hospital after a second fall, which happened walking home after she'd successfully voted last Tuesday. She's in good spirits and engaging in worship with us online. Greetings, Elaine. But this is painful and concerning for her, and she welcomes the care of this community. There are many among us carrying concerns and joys in our hearts today for ourselves, for our loved ones, and for people all over the world. I invite you to speak into this holy sanctuary or into the silence of your own heart or your own home the names of those that you wish to lift up into our embrace. Holy One, creative spirit that moves within, among, and beyond us. We lift these precious names to the love that holds us all. I invite you to join me in a time of meditation guided into a place of memory, a place of peace and beauty. Close your eyes if that is comfortable for you, or just rest and loosen your gaze and loosen, simply loosen. There is a place in northwestern Ontario called Lake of the Woods. It is a place of wild, untouched beauty. This is the place of my childhood summers, and the place that my mind and heart go to in times of meditation or seeking peace. It is a world of abundant colors and fragrance, of soaring eagles, loons, playing beavers, cool fresh water, endless starry skies, northern lights sometimes, breathtaking sunsets, and yes, even the mosquitoes as they are chased by the dragonflies. This place has always been my sanctuary, where I can go physically or mentally to seek the divine, to connect with Spirit. And as so many others, I seek out nature to deepen into my spirituality. And I find my spirit in nature. Do you have a place like this? Where do you go? Can you visualize it? Think of the times you have been struck by awe, by grace, that feeling of pure love and selflessness, connection. Are you sitting by a waterfall or a stream, the waves of the ocean? And lying in tall grass, watching the clouds, or feeling the unstoppable power of a storm rolling towards you. The call of a loon, the greeting flicker of a fox's tail. Or just gazing into the eyes of a beloved animal companion and feeling their pure, uncomplicated love. These are the threads that bind us with the beauty and essence of all creation, with all that is, all that has been, and all that ever will be. Some call it God. Some call it Spirit. Some call it nature. Feel it calling to you. embracing you as we share a moment of silence.
From the time I was a little girl, I always preferred my playground in the woods to jumping rope or riding bike or any number of other childhood activities. The woods were filled with magic, including whole families of make-believe little people who lived under the wildflowers, who tended to the trees and the wild ferns, and who were always, always joyful. My fun didn't begin until they came out to play. And to this day, I can walk to the spot in South St. Paul where I first met these wonderful friends. Then, much later in my early 20s, there was a time when I was driving my old car down a country road in western Minnesota. Without a warning, I was seeing glittered light across the cornfields and feeling inextricably connected to everything around me. The experience lasted only a few seconds, but was unmistakable in my mind. Worried that I might be viewed as someone who partook in the forbidden fruits of the day. And just to be clear, I hadn't. I never told anyone about that experience, except to secretly pen the following words in my journal. I spent this morning with the sun on its rise to fame and glory. My energy became fused with its very own, and for a moment, I became one with the universe. I felt the power of the sun, a passion for life and unshakable compassion for the living. At any moment, my energy could have burst into 1,000,000 gold and silver sunbeams. I shall strive to widen that instant in me with the earth and its inhabitants. It wasn't clear at the time, but I now feel that these early experiences began to shape my thinking about the natural world and my relationship to it. I know that not everyone has had these experiences, but I also know that I'm not alone. More recently, I was perched in a beautiful northern Minnesota cabin for a couple weeks where I had lots of time to think. The air was clean, the sun was warm, and the breezes were ideal for reflection. I could move freely from one thought to another and raise questions in my mind that required exploration. We had a resident eagle near our cottage, and he was so awesome. One morning, I stepped out of our dining room onto the deck, and I heard this whomp, 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 and I wondered, what had the dogs discovered? In the same nanosecond, I saw him, the eagle, fly right above me. If I'd had a small stepladder, I could have touched his wings. It was a moment of absolute wonder and awe, and still indelible in my memory. We also had a resident loon who was not so imminent. She would call and I could hear her, but I didn't really know where she was. And then there, right at the end of the dock, she would appear, ever elusive and never as yet within reach. The common loon is famous for her birdsong vocalese. She knows how to speak her truth. At home on the water, she glides effortlessly across the top and is a powerful diver come dinner time. But her despairing attempts to navigate her way on land are always awkward and clumsy. We had numerous experiences with nature like this in our time at this cabin, and how I would love to always live in the company with the rhythm and wisdom of our natural world, as eagles fly, as loons call, watching the sun paint its arc across the sky. What if all humans could be free like an eagle to explore our own beliefs, thoughts, and interests? What if all humans could learn how to recognize what is ours to do, personally and collectively, and what belongs to another? And what if, like the loon, we could respectfully speak our own truth, while also learning new ways, however awkward and clumsy we might feel in doing so? What a wonderful world that could be. I am awake to the violence and intolerance in our world today, and each day I try to dig deeper still to find hope, understanding, and right action. I left that cabin in the woods with images and lessons from my friends the eagle and the loon to guide me. Sing, be, live, see. I guess that is how nature beats in my heart.
There's an old story about a Unitarian farmer, Farmer Brown. He bought an old abandoned farm. The land was overgrown with weeds, and the farmhouse and the barn were falling apart. On his first day there, the local town preacher came by to greet him and to give a blessing, saying, "May God bless you and make this land fertile and bountiful, and best of luck." The preacher returned a few months later and found the farm transformed. The house and the barns had fresh paint on it, and there was a tidy yard with chickens running around and healthy young animals and fenced pens and whitewashed fences around to greet people coming in. The fields were lined with straight rows of budding green crops. "Hallelujah," said the preacher. "Our prayers were answered. Look at what God and you have accomplished together." And the Unitarian farmer says, "Yes, Reverend. But remember what a mess this place was when it was in God's hands alone." We Unitarian Universalists, we know that it is by our hands that the work gets done. And we cannot wait for miracles or trust in prayers alone. We accept responsibility for our lives, not expecting God to intervene for us, but perhaps through us. We are people of action and justice. We work to heal lives and help to heal the world. And this is how we live our faith. We do things. We sign petitions, we make signs, we march in protest, we buy sustainably produced products, we recycle, and we use renewable resources as often as we can. We are doers. But simply doing something for the earth isn't the entire solution, and we get that too. First, we need to be in relationship. Our Unitarian ancestor, Ralph Waldo Emerson, wrote in his essay, Nature, in 1836. Emerson, he reimagined the divine as something large and visible, which he referred to as nature. He describes nature as a spiritual being that provides for humankind, and believed that humankind in return must care for nature. Emerson recommended that people find a way to be in good relationship with nature, as nature gives generously all that we need, but humans often fail to reciprocate. This reciprocity, this is our work, our deeply religious work. Eco-spirituality, or spiritual ecology, looks beyond our sense of environmental justice, the doing, towards connecting us even more deeply with how we engage with nature on a personal and theological level. David Suzuki, a Canadian environmentalist and leader in sustainable ecology, expresses the importance of including the sacred in addressing the ecological crisis. Suzuki says, "The way we see the world shapes the way we treat it. If a mountain is a deity, not a pile of ore, if a river is one of the veins of the land and not potential irrigation water, if a forest is a sacred grove, not timber, if other species are biological kin and not resources, or if the planet is our mother, not an opportunity, then we will treat each other with greater respect." Thus is the challenge, he says, to look at the world from a different perspective. Unitarian Universalists' work for environmental justice is reflected in the seventh principle that we name, that affirms and promotes the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And it's also reflected in one of our 6 sources of our faith, the spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Through worship and other spiritual rituals and our practices, we nourish and ground ourselves in our call to action, blending our factual understanding of cosmology and astronomy and physics and chemistry, biology, botany, all the sciences, combining that with contemplation and awe and mystery that speaks to our spiritual beings. We acknowledge our deep connections with the natural world and within our living planet. Eco-spirituality blends and weaves different scientific, religious, and indigenous, natural, earth-based ways of knowing into a developing consciousness, expanding beyond the dualities of human, earth, heaven, earth, mind, body. Eco-spirituality can bring us to recognize the unity and interrelationship or interbeing, the true interconnectedness of all creation. March, being Women's History Month, and with Friday having been International Women's Day, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the influence, the profound influence that women have had on climate action and awareness. In many ways, women started the environmental movement as we know it today. Rachel Carson's seminal book, Silent Spring, inspired a generation of grassroots action for the earth and ultimately leading to the founding of Earth Day and the creation of the United States Environmental Protection Agency. And through 60 years of groundbreaking work in the field, Jane Goodall introduced the world to complex family interactions of wild chimpanzees. She inspired a new public awareness about protecting primates and their vital habitats. And as a marine biologist, oceanographer, and explorer, Dr. Sylvia Earle was the first female chief scientist of the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and continues to inspire action to end overfishing and pollution in our oceans. Of course, there's also Greta Thunberg and Ursula Goodenough and countless other women engaged in their own communities and in research and in global leadership. And I want to introduce you today to a couple of my own female eco-heroes. In her beautiful and evocative book, Braiding Sweetgrass, Potawatomi botanist Robin Wall Kimmerer shares nuggets of native ecological wisdom through the lens of science and tradition. There are many rich stories woven in her pages, and I will share just one with you today that I found deeply moving, of asters and goldenrods. Asters and goldenrods. Kimmerer writes of the remarkable beauty in her homeland's fields in September. She writes, as if harvest time were not enough, peaches and grapes and sweet corn and squash, the fields are also embroidered with the drifts of golden yellow and pools of deepest purple, a masterpiece. She told her university advisor that she wanted to study botany because I want to learn about why asters and goldenrods look so beautiful together. Well, she wasn't taken very seriously. He replied, I must tell you, that is not science. She tried again. I'd like to learn why plants make medicines. Why willow bends for baskets, and why strawberries are sweeter in the shade. Yeah, also not science, he said. I just wanted to know why, she said. Why do they stand beside each other when they could grow alone? Einstein himself said that God doesn't play dice with the universe. Why, she asked, is the world so beautiful? She got into the program. She studied the formulas and the facts and the figures and the mechanical structures of hard science. She learned about evidence and logic. And after her PhD, Kimmerer met a Navajo woman who shared the ancient teachings. She writes, one by one, name by name, she told of the plants in her valley, where each one lived, when it bloomed, who it liked to live near, and all of its relationships, who ate it, who lined their nests with its fibers, what kind of medicine it offered. She spoke of beauty. Kimmerer then used her scientific knowledge and discovered that there are special color receptors in the eye, ours and other beings. She learned about colors that are reciprocal pairs, meaning that together they make each other even more vivid in partnership. So asters and goldenrods have known this for a very long time. Their striking contrast when they grow together makes them even more attractive as a target for bees. And they can be seen across the whole meadow, beckoning. Growing together, both receive more pollinator visits than they would if they were growing alone. Together they thrive. And they knew this. Kimmerer writes, "That September pairing of purple and gold is lived reciprocity. Its wisdom is that the beauty of one is illuminated by the radiance of the other. Science and art, matter and spirit, indigenous knowledge and Western science. Can they be goldenrod and aster for one another? When I am in their presence," she writes, "their beauty asks me for reciprocity, to be the complementary color, to make something beautiful in response." The beauty of the earth asks us to make something beautiful in response. Eco-philosopher Joanna Macy, one of the greatest activists and spiritual teachers of our era, she's the author of the book Active Hope: How to Face the Mess We're In with Unexpected Resilience and Creative Power. It's a great book. And it was just updated and re-released last year to include reflections on the pandemic. 94-year-old Macy writes that being able to experience anguish and grief in response to the pain of our world is crucial to staying engaged and connected in life. She's a scholar of Buddhism and general systems theory and deep ecology, which is at the heart of eco-spirituality. Macy is a respected voice in movements for peace and justice in the environment and has been for over 50 years. She encourages us to address the climate crisis as a spiritual path, to expand our perspective, recognizing our intricate connections with all living things, as well as with all people, including those we may disagree with. This experiential work of hers, it follows a spiral sequence flowing through 4 stages that she outlines. And the first, we come from a place of gratitude. The second is we honor our own pain and grief for the world. We work through that, and the third piece is seeing things with new eyes, finding something fresh. And then the fourth, going back out into the world with new insights and hopes renewed. It takes work. And then the spiral begins again with gratitude. Each stage leads naturally to the next. And this spiritually grounded journey helps us become larger, stronger, more creative, and more deeply interconnected, and more resilient. Unity's Act for the Earth team is offering a workshop on March 23rd to explore Joanna Macy's Active Hope framework in practice. I invite you to consider joining this workshop. In Braiding Sweetgrass, Robin Wall Kimmerer circles toward a central argument that the awakening of a wider ecological consciousness requires the acknowledgement and celebration of our reciprocal relationship with the rest of the living world. For only when we can hear the languages of other beings, see the colors, smell the fragrances, will we be capable of understanding the generosity of the earth and learn how to give our own gifts in return. Our spiritual response to the environmental crisis can bring us to understand ourselves as part of the divine wholeness of the natural world, finding ourself intertwined with the web of life in a way that enriches all life. Let us be mindful. Let us celebrate the wonder of life and our interdependence. Let us find the sacred thread that weaves the essence of humanity into the tapestry of all creation, and then engage again with gratitude with the world from this new awareness. Let us make something beautiful in response. May it be so. Amen.
Unity Church is framed by the statements of conscience known as its end statements. One of those is generously give and openly receive compassionate care in times of joy, sorrow, and transition. Our compassionate care extends beyond the walls of this church to communities with whom we share a common interest. Each week, the larger portion of our offering goes to our community partners. Co-musication was founded to make high-quality after-school music programs accessible to local youth. At co-musication, music isn't just singing or playing instruments. It's a language, a unique language, that builds confidence, community, and capacity for change in the lives of youth, of the youth it serves. Participants learn life and leadership skills, building community across schools and cultures with opportunities to perform frequently and experience the exuberance of their collective creativity. Please give as generously as you are able. Will the ushers now come forward? May the work of our hands and the generosity of our hearts be given in gratitude this day. Let the offering now be taken.
Let beauty awake, rising to the calls deep within us and all around us. May we respond today and always with courage and with love. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community love, the fire of commitment. We speak in our hearts until we are together again.